Coming up on The Sporting Chef.
Today on the show, I'm making breakfast. And I've got John McGannon, Saving Important Papers, J D Richey, Tiffany Haugen, Stacy Harris, Cee Dub, and Buddy.
What do you get when you find the best fish and game chefs? Cookbook authors, award winners, fishmongers, outdoor experts, and put them on the fastest half hour on outdoor television. Hosted by one of America's best-known wild game chefs, Scott Leysath, The Sporting Chef. Brought to you by Camp Chef, the way to cook outdoors.
I want to introduce you to one of my new best friends. This is the Camp Chef Flat Top Grill. There's nothing I like better in a steak than when it's just seared on a hot cast iron grill. In this case, this morning, I've got breakfast. I'm gonna make venison hash. That's corned venison hash. I have pancakes with walnuts, cranberries, some sweet apples on top, a little whipped cream. I have some wild boar sausage, and then I'm going to take some of that wild boar sausage and make a fully loaded wild boar sausage burrito. I'm going to get started shortly, but first I want you to check out John McGannon. He has a Juniper Berry Rubbed Elk, and John knows how to cook.
Okay, Scott, I'm gonna cook one of my favorite game animals, some beautiful little top sirloins from a 2-year-old cow elk. Now these sirloins have been dry aged for 21 days in a meat locker. What I've done with this big sirloin here, I trimmed it off, removed all the silver skin, and then cut it into loin-like sizes. And this is so delicate and natural that all we're going to do is hit it with a little bit of olive oil. And you could do this the night before. In fact, that's what I normally do, is dry rub it. This is our famous juniper berry and peppercorn steak rub. You can use whatever your favorite rub is. I'm going to hit it with a little bit of kosher or sea salt. All right, so we're going to go a little olive oil in there. And we got this nice and hot. I like to cook venison no bigger than this because without the extra fat that we have on pork and beef, the quicker that you can cook it, the more moisture it's going to retain. So again, we want that to sing to us when we're putting it in that nice hot pan. And then once it sits in there, we leave it. We don't want to move it around and lower that temperature any more than we have to. And with meat that's this thick, what I normally do is sear the whole outside and go straight down into this preheated oven for about 5 or 6 minutes. And we are ready to go. We're gonna leave this off to the side and let that rest. And in the meantime, make a pan sauce. So what I'm gonna do is we have our nice little pan drippings in here. We're gonna hit that with a little bit of garlic. And we'll add a little bit of onions to that. Okay, so this is ready to go now for a little deglazing, and you can use whatever you like. This bourbon works really well with the onions and the garlic and the juniper berry and peppercorn. So you got to be careful as to not to go too crazy. A little bit of beef stock. We are going to add a little bit of Dijon mustard. We're going to hit that with a little bit of butter just to kind of stretch out the sauce, and it also takes the edge off from that bourbon. Turn that fire off and just slowly work it in. Okay, so we've let this rest so that we can redistribute the moisture throughout this meat. And of course, we want to also go nice and rare. Juniper berry and peppercorn rubbed elk top sirloin, cooked to perfection, juicy and moist and tender with a little bit of onion, mustard, and bourbon compote.
And by the way, John really does know how to cook. If you check him out at wildeats.com, you'll find out more about what John's about. And I'm going to show you what this is about here, this Camp Chef flat top grill. I've got my corned venison. This is just venison from the hind quarter. It's a very simple process, just takes a little bit of time, takes a few days to get it to happen. I've got some oil on the grill. I'm going to start with my potatoes because they're going to take the longest. And I'll also add some peppers over here. Corned venison hash really isn't that big of a deal. You can use corned beef also if you don't have any corned venison at home. You can use the High Mountain jerky kits to make corned venison, corned beef. You can make it at home. It's very simple. And while this is doing its thing over here, I want you to check out this really cool tip on how to keep your important papers safe and dry. You know, one of the things that I love about the titanium is you can use it to seal, not squeeze, your important documents. Now, nobody plans on a natural disaster. The washing machine backs up, a pipe breaks, there's a flood, and you've got some really important papers or photographs or memories or things like your passport that get wet. And once they're wet, for a lot of these papers, they're not any good anymore. This is a 15-inch bag, and all I want to do is seal it. I'm going to start it off by setting it on vacuum and seal. And then once it gets close, I'm going to press seal so that it doesn't squeeze all my papers together, but it will save some room, and it'll be dry and safe from any water damage. No water will get to my important documents. Time to wake up and get rolling. I'm making breakfast, but we've also got Tiffany Haugen, J D Richey, Stacy Harris, Cee Dub, and our favorite redneck. Welcome back to The Sporting Chef. I'm Scott Leysath, making breakfast. Beautiful background here in Utah. On the flat top over here, I have my corned venison hash, which I've added. The corned venison, I have some jalapeno peppers, some onions, some bell peppers over here. I want to add a little bit of butter and garlic. I'll add some butter here. I'm going to add it right there, and then the garlic here. I don't want to burn the garlic, so I don't put it on very early. Once that butter melts, I'm going to scoop it all together, and it looks like I'm there now. This all gets mixed together. I'm going to season it with some High Mountain garlic pepper. Give it another stir. And when I'm ready to serve this, I'm going to put a nice over easy egg right on top. Pancakes. Now, you can make pancakes using flour and whatever your normal pancake batter mix is. You're more likely to use the recipe if I just tell you to buy a box of pancake mix, add either water or milk, and just mix the batter up. And I'm going to slice these apples up, and the apples are going to go on top of the pancakes. And I'm going to throw in some dried cranberries. You don't want to overmix your pancake batter. I like it a little bit lumpy. My corned venison hash over there smells delicious. Into my little bowl here, I've got dried cranberries. I've got walnuts. I'm going to chop up a little fresh mint. Pancakes are going to go onto the griddle. On the right side, I want to fill this thing up. But first off, I want you to check out Tiffany Haugen, who not only cooks, but looks better than 95%. Make that 99% of the population.
Hey Scott, look what showed up just in time for grilling season. A Camp Chef pellet grill and smoker. We can't wait to see how this cooks up some of our favorite game and fish. Let's see how easy it is to put it together. Quick and easy, time to start smoking.
Yeah, Tiffany can cook. She looks great. Check her website out too. She has great cookbooks. One of my favorite cookbooks. They're very easy to read. Lots of great photos. Here are my cranberry walnut pancakes. And these are going to be topped with sweet cinnamony apples. Remember, there's a little mint in here. There's walnut. There's cranberries. I like my pancakes to be a little on the brown side. Let me throw these apples on here next to it. Let me slice up the red guy here. I like the mixture of sweet and tart apples, 2 different colors. And then on top of that, just to make it even a little sweeter, I've got some brown sugar and some cinnamon and a little bit of butter on top of these apples also. Time to flip the pancakes. And I have some wild boar sausage that I made with High Mountain breakfast sausage kits. You don't need any special equipment, just get the High Mountain kits, your ground venison, your ground boar. I used all boar shoulder on this, just so I don't burn my pancakes any more than I usually kind of do. I want you to check out J D Richey. J D Richey is no stranger to the Sacramento River, to the Alaska River. I don't know anybody who knows more about salmon and steelhead than JD, and you can see what he looks like after he spent a few weeks on the water.
Now, back trolling flatfish and quickfish is a really popular method of fishing for salmon, king salmon on the Sacramento River. Now, one of the big mistakes I see guys make a lot, especially beginners, is when the fish bites the plug, they set the hook. You have to actually let that fish take the plug before you lift up on it. The plug is backing down the river. Salmon comes up and grabs it. The guy up here with the rod feels that and jerks, and what happens is he pulls it right out of their mouth. Whereas if you let him grab it, he'll start shaking his head, and eventually he will turn downstream, and you have a lot better chance of getting the hooks across the side of his face if you let that rod load up, load up, load up. If you jerk on that first pull or two, you're gonna land probably 1 out of 10 fish, but if you are able to let that tip go in the water and that rod just pump several times, the line starts coming off the reel, then you can lift up on them and you're gonna get them almost every time. But if you don't do that, 10% hookup ratio is about all you're gonna expect. And Scott, I somehow have this suspicion that maybe, just maybe, you might be a premature hook setter. Is that true?
I hope you're hungry. More breakfast. Stacy Harris, Cee Dub, and Buddy. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Sporting Chef. The pancakes are done. I'm going to put a little butter on top of my apples just to get them started. These apples are going to go right on top of the pancakes, thusly. And then, of course, the whipped cream right on top. Right here. That's a big breakfast. And here's Stacy Harris.
I am about to make rabbit. Yes, rabbit. Our family loves rabbit, mostly because our boys love to hunt it. They went hunting last year, and I'm using the last of the rabbit from last season. So I thawed it out. We had it in the freezer, thawed it out, and I soaked it in buttermilk for about 24 hours, and now I'm about to fry it. It is so good this way, and I'm going to serve it over greens with aioli. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to mix together my flour, paprika, salt and pepper. I'm going to pick up my rabbit here, shake it off a little bit, and dredge it in my flour mixture. And I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of Tabasco over the top of this. But I am going to drop this in very carefully. The temperature needs to be about at 350. If it's too high, it's going to get really dark on the outside and it's not going to be cooked on the inside. When you take it out, it needs to be golden brown, but it doesn't need to be too dark, just a little past golden brown, and do not eat it if it's undercooked. You can get tularemia from the raw rabbit, and you want to just make sure that you are protected from that by having gloves on. You want to keep your cutting board sanitized, and you want to make sure all the tools that you use with rabbit, that they're totally sterile, and then that you go and you sterilize them afterwards as well. All right, time to take them out. I'm going to take them out, and I have a cookie sheet with a cookie rack on top of it, and it should drain perfectly. This is drained now, and I'm going to place my pieces of rabbit perfectly cooked right onto my greens. All right, I made an aioli sauce for this rabbit, and it's a jalapeno aioli. If you don't have any rabbit in your freezer, this works just as well with chicken, wild turkey, and pheasant, any kind of white meat. It's gonna be great. You're gonna love it.
All right, finish up on my hash over here. Break a couple of eggs. And now, let's see what Cee Dub's up to.
Okay, good morning. Nothing starts a day outdoors better than a good breakfast. And so that's what we're gonna do here today. We're gonna make breakfast for you. And we started out last night, we had some ground feral hog that we used to make our own homemade sausage. And we used High Mountain's breakfast sausage seasoning. We're gonna get a couple of these going. And what we're gonna do some hash browns, and we used some fancy potatoes. They're purple potatoes, red potatoes, white potatoes. And we've just chopped up some bell peppers and onions. We're gonna put these on the side of the grill and get them going. And we're gonna add a little salt and pepper to start with on our hash browns. Okay, sourdough has been around for 4,000 or 5,000 years. And this is what everybody used for pancakes or even yeast leavened bread until the late 1800s. What I did last night is I just fed my sourdough starter, and that's what we have there. I'm gonna add just 1 egg, and just a little bit of vegetable oil, and I wanna whip this in there. And I probably used about a tablespoon there. And of course, camping is what do you call powerless cooking? You know, so we're gonna whip this up and get our batter in, and we're gonna add one more ingredient, and we're gonna go back to high school chemistry, basic chemistry, an acid-base reaction. And what I have here is I have a little bit of water, and I'm gonna add a little bit of baking soda, probably, about a half a teaspoon. And all I'm gonna do is dissolve that. Our sourdough is acidic, so what we're going to do, we're gonna add this, and when we add that sourdough, we get that acid-base reaction, and this puffs up and gets much lighter. And you can see that, how nice and creamy that's getting. Let's see if we can get these first couple to turn out. You see how thick and foamy we get our pancakes. So we're gonna just let those cook for a minute and get our sausage turned. Keep our hash browns going. Okay, we've got our sourdoughs done. Here's our last one going on our stack. Gonna take a sausage patty, some of our hash brown potatoes. We roasted these first. That kind of speeded things up here. Okay, Scott, you've got this recipe, don't you?
I've taken on a lot of food today on the flat top grill, but it's really cool and I'm gonna keep using it. What I did was take some of the wild boar sausage, put some peppers, onions, garlic in there. There's a little cheese. I've got a warm flour tortilla. Rule number 1 is not to overstuff your flour tortilla. I usually end up doing that anyway. Put a little salsa on the inside. This is one of my favorite hot sauces. It's Buffalo Chipotle. It's like $1.09, 89 cents. It's cheap, and it actually, I think, has better flavor than some of the mass market hot sauces. Fold it up, cut it in half. There's your burrito, loaded burrito. Put some avocado on top. I'll make this look a little prettier. You've seen a lot of stuff on the show today, and now Buddy grinds his meat.
Scott wish she was over here to help out a little bit. You know, every now and again we get a little carried away, or sometimes when you're carried away we just shoot whatever comes out the way of pigs. Some of it we grind pure, no added fats of any kind. That you go and put a little coconut oil, olive oil in there with it when you make your pan sausage. The other one is we add a secret ingredient, and that's bacon. Now with this Western, you ain't gotta worry about taking all that silver skin off. You choose all that up, and it's in little bitty pieces when it comes out here. Just every now and again you stick a little bit of bacon in there. So let us go ahead and get after this, and we'll show you some finished product later. We went and got some Boston butt, because it got some fat in it, and we're gonna coarse grind that so we got some little different sausage material. Got the pure pork, got 3 tubs here that we're gonna make sausages out of. And we got these 2 pans over here. It's got the bacon in them, and we're gonna make our pan sausage and maybe mix a little bit in with this other sausage. Don't come back now. Talk to y'all later.
I'm Scott Leysath, the sporting chef. Stick around, there's more to come. Welcome back to The Sporting Chef. I'm Scott Leysath. Cooked a whole bunch of food today. Let me put a little bit more of that whipped cream on the pancakes. These are cranberry walnut pancakes with cinnamon sweet apples on top. There's a little bit of mint in the pancake batter also. Over here is my fully loaded burrito. My son Jake would put scrambled eggs in his fully loaded breakfast burrito. Put them in if you want them, I like that. Over here, this is my favorite part here. This is the crispy venison hash, couple of eggs on top, couple of soft eggs. Before I eat this, I will break it open and let that egg run all over the place. And special thanks today to John McGannon, Tiffany Haugen, Cee Dub, Stacy Harris, J D Richey, and Buddy. You've been watching The Sporting Chef, and I strongly suggest that you check out sportingchef.com to find out about all of our co-hosts on the show, where to buy their cookbooks, all their very, very cool stuff. And believe it or not, we've got about 450 recipes there also. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next week.